Hello, Attorney Lee Marvin here today talking about green cards and divorces. So lots of confusion about what happens to the immigrant who gets a green card through their sponsor who is a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, and then they later get divorced. So the question of timing is the real question here. So you're married and you have a green card and you've had one for years and you get divorced. What happens? Nothing. Okay, so once you have that green card and you have your full 10-year green card, your relationship no longer matters for purposes of immigration. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. It really depends on your perspective and who you are and what's going on in your relationship. But if you're the immigrant, that usually is a good thing because you don't need to worry about staying in a relationship that's toxic or bad or failing or whatever. So if you are married and you have been married and you've had your green card for more than a few years, you don't have to worry about any of this, okay? You do what's right for you in your relationship, and if that means divorce, so be it. So the real question comes down to people who haven't made it that far. Basically, condition cards and the removal of condition process. That's really the people who are interested in this sort of video. So, for example, marriage to a U.S. citizen, you've been married for a year, year and a half, and you're drumming along and you know about the removal of condition process, which basically is a process that immigration instituted years ago to try to get rid of a lot of the fraud that was happening based on marriage to a sponsor for a green card. So they created a process that was called the removal of condition process. So if you are in a relationship where you get married within 2 years of filing, so you just get married, you file right away, you're going to have a conditional green card, okay? So any relationship or any marriage that is not more than 2 years old at the time that you file is conditional. So what that means is at the end of the first 2 years, you have to petition immigration again to remove those conditions. And the conditions, what are the conditions? It's just conditional. That's what they call it. So basically, immigration is saying, we're going to assume that you're lying to us and that this is a fraudulent green card, and you got to prove that that's not the case in 2 years. So how do you do that? Well, you show that the relationship still exists. In most cases, the normal process is for the sponsor and the immigrant to both sign the application to remove the condition. Too easy, right? If you're still in a relationship. If you're not in a relationship, it gets difficult. Or if you're not in a healthy relationship, because I've had clients that are like, well, we're not divorced, but they're really not in a relationship, which makes it very difficult to fool the government or to even convince them that you still are in a legitimate bona fide relationship. So these people that have to file this process have to include documentation that shows that you are still together, or at least that you did not enter the relationship for the purpose of getting a green card, which basically is green card fraud, immigration fraud. So you have to prove to them that you didn't do it to circumvent the normal system for the green card process, okay? So what happens if you get divorced before you remove those conditions? Not a problem. I've had many clients, never had a problem with it. Because clients that are in the predicament because their relationship failed, I mean, things fail. It's not a big deal. But you got to show the government that they failed for a very good reason that's not related to immigration. So don't be petrified. Don't be paranoid. Don't worry that immigration is going to automatically deny you because you got divorced before you got your 10-year card. So doing this process, it's actually easier if you're divorced than if you just have a bad relationship with your sponsor. Because at least if you're divorced, you can show the documentation to explain the reason why you're divorced. So common examples of why people get divorced for their immigration process is abuse or just a bad relationship. People make mistakes in life. And if you can show that it was an honest mistake, immigration's not going to, punish you for that, right? But they need to believe that it's not fake, okay? So divorce, totally fine. So you're divorced and you file the documents to show that you got divorced. And a lot of times I recommend including a letter with your filing. A lot of attorneys don't do this, okay? They just dump paperwork to the government. Well, my job is to make it easy for the government to make a decision that benefits my clients. One way that we do that is by including a letter to immigration that explains the situation. I had a client, she was in this relationship, married just after a year, the guy started cheating on her, man. And she's like, what the heck? She found through the credit card purchases, hotel rooms that she never stayed in. And she found out that the guy was cheating on her. And this was the sponsor cheating on her, the immigrant, not the other way around. So we filed the documents that showed the relationship falling apart, right? It had nothing to do with her. I mean, I'm not saying that she wasn't a part of the failing of the relationship, but what I am saying is she didn't end the relationship once she got her green card, okay? We provided that information. She had zero problems. She got her full 10-year green card, no issues at all, okay? So it's all about timing, right? And also why things didn't work out and how you communicate that to immigration. So I'm not going to provide information or suggestions for people that are committing fraud, obviously. But my point is, it's easy to convince the government that you are in the right if you are in the right, okay? I've never had a problem proving that with my clients, okay? So you just provide the right information to show that either the relationship might be on rocky grounds, but you're still in a relationship, okay? If that's the case, you still should be able to get documents that show your ongoing relationship, even if it's not stellar. You can still show shared resources, shared living situations. If you have kids together, you can still show all those things. If you don't have any of those things, well, yeah, obviously that's going to be a lot more challenging. And you probably, well, I don't recommend people do these by themselves anyway, because it's picky and it is negative as the government is right now. They deny most things, okay? So definitely go to an attorney. But if you're trying to help the process along by watching this video, then get the information when you can to show that the relationship still exists, even if it's not the healthiest. So if you are married, if you're still together with your spouse, okay, you have to file this process 90 days before the 2-year anniversary. That's when you're allowed to file it. So if you think things are getting rocky, you better start getting your information together, because it's going to be much more difficult if you split up later on to try to recreate some of that stuff. Maybe your spouse won't let you in the house. You're separated. It's really darn hard to get information if you're no longer in the same household. Even if you are in the same household, it might be difficult if there's a controlling type relationship with your sponsor, okay? So try to figure out that stuff before the wheels fall off, and then you aren't able to do it. So these are just a few tips. Obviously, this is not legal advice. These are tips, okay? If you want legal advice, give me a call. Contact my office. Go to our webpage. It has contact information, phone numbers. Subscribe to our videos to get tips and suggestions on what to do for other parts of your process, and to reach out to us so that you can succeed. You can get your green card, whether you're in the relationship, awesome, or if things fall apart, you don't need to give up your green card, okay? You can still have that. You can still work. You can still live and prosper in the United States. You just need to do it the right way. So reach out to us. We will help you do it, and we will make sure that you succeed.